In today's class, we are going to perform one lab on inter-vlan routing. Inter-vlan routing. And going ahead, we will discuss some more advanced topics. So if you remember, we have discussed about access port, we have discussed about trunk port, and we have done the configuration as well. For the access port, trunk port, we have done the configuration on the switch. Then we have discussed different type of VLAN, that is default VLAN, normal VLAN range, extended VLAN, and we have seen there are some reserve VLANs also for a specific purpose. We have done the practicals, how to configure extended VLAN and where exactly it is configured. This everything we have seen in our previous lecture. We have also seen how you will communicate between the VLAN and the extended VLAN. Now over here we are going to purely perform a lab which is being done in your production environment, how the inter-VLAN routing works. So for this, what will be our use case? For this, we will be using two VLANs. In fact, I can say three VLAN. One will be for management purpose. So I will say that we will have one core switch. We will have on the core switch. You are going to configure VLAN 10, VLAN 20, and VLAN 100. Then you will have, or let's say, instead of core switch, let's for now say one L3 switch you will have. Then one L2 switch you will be taking, and PCs connected to this will be in VLAN 10. Okay. Then one L2 switch you will take, and you will connect PCs over here also. PCs connected to this will be in VLAN 20. So overall, VLAN 10, you know that when you configure VLAN, screen not showing. Okay, okay, Imran. What about others? For everyone, there is a problem in screen sharing. There is no issue. Now it is visible. That's good. My screen is visible for online students. So VLAN 10 we will be configuring, and you know that name is something optional. Why do you give the name for a specific VLAN? So that you can identify that VLAN, right? If you have 100 of VLANs, so how you will identify using a VLAN ID? So instead of this VLAN ID 10, you will also give the name which is user friendly, and you will identify that. So let's say for example, for VLAN 10, you will give name as IT VLAN, okay? And you will be using the network as 192.168.10.0/24. Similarly, VLAN 20, you will give a user friendly name. Let's say for example, this is HR network, name HR, and you will give it using the network 192.168.20.0/24. And we have one VLAN 100. This is for management VLAN, okay? And you will be using 192.168.100.0/24 over here. So let's see how in the production environment you will be configuring VLAN, you will be performing inter-VLAN routings. Everyone come to packet tracer. This lab we can do it on packet tracer. So for now, if even you don't have EVNG, it's totally fine. Everyone has open packet tracer. Please confirm in the chat box so that we will be starting with the practicals. Very first thing, you will take one L3 switch, layer 3 switch. Okay, see over here on the network devices, you will find switches. Click over here. And once you click over here, you will find one switch 3650. Just drag it over here. Now, another thing, again over here you will find 2960. Just press the control button and click on this switch. You can do one thing. You will just again click over here, you will get one switch. You will click over here, you will get another switch. We will be taking two pieces now over here. So over here you will find end device, right? And over here you will find a PC option, right? So just press the control button and click on this PC. Then over here on the screen, click 4 times to get 4 PCs, because we need 4 PCs. Now once you are done with this, what we are going to do is just click over here so that you will get cursor back. Take this PC here, take this PC here. Now take this PC here, make it properly. Now it's a time to connect the cables. So over here you will find a connections, and this is something automatically chosen connection type. Click over here. Start connecting the cables. Everyone has connected these things, the design as it looks in the screen. Everyone has done this. Now everyone knows that by default the layer 3 switch is power off, right? You need to power it on. So just click over here on this switch and you will find a power supply over here. Drag this power supply and take it to the second slot over here and put it. Go to CLI and you will see that switch is booting now, right? Close it. Let's wait for some time till the switch is booted and it comes up. Now you will see that the port is started to come up, meaning that the switch has booted. Now what we are going to do is we are going to start our configuration as per the these things what we have written on the board. Always remember the VLAN interface, that is switch virtual interface SVI, is configured on the layer 3 switch. We have already learned this. And on the layer 2 switches, these are more over the access ports, and the connectivity between the this layer 2 switch and layer 3 switch is trunk port. What is access port? We know that it is a port which carries the traffic of a single VLAN which it is a member of. What is trunk port? It carries the traffic of multiple VLANs from one end to another end. This also we have already discussed. Now everything we have to do it practically. Now just open your layer 3 switch over here and come to CLI. It is asking you, would you like to enter the initial configuration? Say no. And now you are in user privilege mode. Everyone is there with me? We will go to, now you are in user mode, we will go to privilege mode. Give the command enable, hit enter. Now you are into privilege mode. Let's see the interfaces. The command is show IP interface brief is the command. Hit enter. You will see that gigabit ethernet 1/0/1 is up, which is connected to your this switch, the left side switch. And you have gigabit Ethernet 1 by 0 by 2, which is also up and connected to this switch. Now, very first, what we are going to do is we will be giving the host name to the switch. Go to configuration mode and give the host name as L3 switch. You will give the host name as L3 switch and hit enter. Everyone has changed the host name of the switch. Please confirm in the chat box. Now everyone has configured the host name. So now the next step is we will be configuring the VLAN, and on the top of the VLAN we will be assigning the IP addresses as per our design. So very first you will say VLAN 10 and hit enter. Now giving name is optional to this VLAN, but for your identification purpose, if you have 100 of VLANs in your network, how you will identify? You will identify through name, not through ID, right? So you will give the name of the VLAN as IT VLAN, or simply IT also you can write. It's totally up to you. Name is something for you to identify. You will say name IT and say exit. We will create one more VLAN, that is VLAN 20, and give the name HR. Again, say exit. And third and the final VLAN which we are going to configure is for the management purpose. The management purpose VLAN means this VLAN you will be using to manage your switches. If you want to access your switches, you will be using this VLAN. So that is VLAN 100 and name is management and hit enter. Everyone has configured this three VLAN. Please confirm in the chat box if everyone has configured this three VLAN. Now, the next step which we are going to do is we have created VLANs, means you have created the SVI, switch virtual interface you have configured. Why? Because VLAN is the virtual LAN, right? So you have configured the SVI basically, and you are going to configure the IP address on this VLAN. Before we move, let me tell you, when I was showing you that extended VLAN you are creating, and I have also shown you that switch port which is there, you give the command no switch port to convert the switch port from layer 2 to layer 3. Why we do that? Because we can configure the IP address and we can manage the switch, right? This is what I have shown you earlier. But just take a scenario. This is a switch, for example. Now there are 10 administrators. So will you configure each and every port connected to a PC with the IP address in a different network and give the access to the administrator? It is a useless idea, right? So in production environment, we don't give the IP address on the switch port, and through that specific IP address, the administrator will access the switch. No, no, no. That is not the case. What we do, instead of using the physical port, we create one SVI, we create one VLAN, and on that VLAN, we configure the IP address. And using that network IP address, the administrator will be accessing the switch. That we will learn now how to do that. So now you all have configured three VLANs and given the user friendly name to this VLAN. The next step is just give the exit command and go to the interface of VLAN 10. Go to interface VLAN 10, and over here give the IP address 192.168.10.1. Subnet mask 255.255.255.0. Why slash 24 means 255.255.255.0. Hit enter. Now go to interface VLAN 20. Hit enter and give the IP address as 192.168.20.1, 255.255.255.0 and hit enter. Now go to third VLAN, that is VLAN 100, interface VLAN 100, and give the IP address as 192.168.100.1, subnet mask 255.255.255.0. If everyone has done this, please confirm in the chat box. Now, once you have configured the IP address over here on the VLAN, the next step what we are going to do is, you see this interface gig 101 is connected to the switch, and over here gig 102 is also connected to this switch. We are going to configure this both ports are as trunk port, right? Switch to switch connectivity as trunk. Just come over here and you can use interface range command if you want to configure multiple interface range gig 1/0/1 and say switch port mode trunk. Okay, switch port mode trunk. Now once this is done, so now what you did on the interface gig 101 and gig 102, which interfaces? This interfaces. You have configured this interfaces as trunk port. So for Sohail, it is saying that it got rejected. So Sohail, what error you are getting? Are you getting any encapsulation error? Sohail? Sohail, if it is giving you interface range not validated, meaning that you are not using it properly. See, going to configuration mode, you have to give this command interface range gig 101 hyphen 2 in the same way how I have given. Just give it again and confirm. We have configured the IP addresses on the interface. Then we have configured both the ports which are connected on the switches as a trunk port. Right? So the configuration on the core switch is done. Basic configuration which is required. Now we will be doing the configuration on this switches. So let's open this switch first. Now over here, hit enter and just give enable command to come into privilege mode. And we will be changing the name of this switch. Now go to configure terminal, go to configuration mode and give the name of the switch, host name, and let's say we are this switch is configured on the IT network, on the IT department. We have deployed the switch in the IT department. Give the name, host name, IT switch and hit enter. So the next thing what you have to do is you have to configure this port as a trunk port. The port which is connected to layer 3 switch will be the trunk port. And both these ports which are connected on the PC side is going to be the access port and the member of VLAN 10. Let's do that configuration now. This is fast Ethernet 0 by 1 port, right? You will go to interface FA 0 by 1, but before that we have to just configure the VLANs also over here, right? So you will say VLAN 10, and remember we are doing inter-VLAN routing, so the VLAN 20 should also be known to this switch, so that's why only when this switch traffic will come it will identify VLAN 20, or else it will not identify. So you have to configure all the VLAN over here. Exit VLAN 20, enter. Now I told you the name is optional. We have already given the name over there, no need to give over here. If you want to give over here also, it's totally up to you, but again the name is optional, just to identify it on for you, for administrator to identify. Exit. And finally VLAN 100, exit. Once you have configured this VLAN, now configure the ports. Interface fast Ethernet 0/1, hit enter, and say switch port mode trunk, and enter. You have configured this port as trunk. Now, although this is fast Ethernet port, but in production environment, it should always be gigabit Ethernet. Now, in the next lecture, when we will be learning about the designing, network designing, in that we will cover why it should be giga Ethernet port, why it is recommended, everything we'll cover. But for now, just we are doing inter-VLAN routing. To understand how inter-VLAN routing works, we have taken randomly. Once you have configured this port as trunk, now this remaining two ports you have to configure, and this will be access port and the member of VLAN 10. That is fast Ethernet 0 by 2 and fast Ethernet 0 by 3. Interface range fast Ethernet 0/2 to 3. You can configure this using range command, because you have to do a same configuration over here. If the configuration is different, you have to do it one by one. But if the configuration is same on multiple ports, you can use a range command. Interface range FA 0 by 2 -3, hit enter. You will say that switch port mode access, hit enter. And the next command you will say that switch port access VLAN 10, hit enter. Hope everyone has done this configuration. Please confirm in the chat box if you have done this configuration. So now we have configured this port as a trunk port over here, the port which is connected to layer 3 switch, and the ports which are connected to the PCs, we have configured those ports as access port, and we made these ports as a member of VLAN 10. Just minimize this now and go to this PC. Go to this PC, open this PC, click on desktop and click on IP configuration. We will be using the static IP address over here, and let's say we will say 192.168.10. The same network IP we will use 10.10. Subnet mask is going to be 255.255.255.0, and default gateway we are going to configure the VLAN interface IP, the SVI IP address, which is 192.168.10.1, and then thereafter just close it. Come to another PC. Again same thing, click on desktop from the top icon, go to IP configuration, static IP 192.168.10.20, 55.255.255.0 is a subnet mask, gateway the default gateway will be 192.168.10.1, and again close it. Now everyone has done this configuration. Now let's test one more scenario. Guys, just think that you have 100 to 1000 of PCs in your network. So is it a good idea that you will configure a static IP addresses one by one? See, there is no harm in configuring, but again and again you have to configure so many IP addresses. So instead of that, even you can use the DHCP server and the IP address will be assigned dynamically to all the PCs. All your endpoints, all your end user PC will get the IP address dynamically. Now, if you want to configure a DHCP, where you will configure the DHCP then? So you can configure the DHCP over here also on this switch, but assume that this is a network VLAN 20. Okay. Now this is one switch. You have configured the DHCP server on this switch, for example. Tomorrow, the same VLAN 20 you want to extend it to some other place also, or some other location within your organization. Then again, what you will do? Will you configure the DHCP on that switch also? No, that is not a good idea, and that will not even work. There will be a lot of conflicts. So it is advisable that whenever you want to configure a DHCP server, you configure it on the centralized hub. That is this. You can see this switch. This is the layer 3 switch where all your layer 2 switches are connected. So the good idea is to configure the DHCP over here. What we will do over here, we have assigned the IP address statically, manually we have assigned. For this PC, we will be configuring DHCP server. So everyone is ready. Very first thing, the same configuration what we did over here, we will be doing on this switch. Open this switch and just check what is this port number to which the layer 3 switch is connected. This one is fast Ethernet 0 by 1, correct? So going to this switch, the very first thing what you will do is you will go to privilege mode by giving the enable command and go to configure terminal, that is configuration mode, and give the host name as HR switch and start configuring those three VLANs, VLAN 10 exit, VLAN 20 exit, VLAN 30 exit. Everyone has created these VLANs on this switch also. Once you have configured these three VLANs, now it's a time to configure the ports. So go to interface fast Ethernet 0/1 and say that switch port mode trunk and hit enter. And for remaining two ports, it's a symmetric configuration, same configuration, interface range FA 0/2 to 3, switch port mode access and switch port access VLAN. You are the member of VLAN 20. So switch port access VLAN 20, hit enter. Now, it will take some time to come up. Now it is amber light. It will turn to green. What is this? What is happening in the backend? Everything will learn. Don't worry. At the right time. Now, I told you that I don't want to configure this PCs statically. The IP address, I don't want to give it statically. What I will do, I will give the dynamic IP address. And for that, I have to configure DHCP server also. So again, I will be accessing this switch, the layer 3 switch. This switch I have access now. Okay. Coming over here, go to configuration mode and we will configure the DHCP over here. Okay. So for configuring the DHCP, first you have to configure the pool name, right? So in the configuration mode, you will say IP DHCP pool, and you will say HR network, because we are configuring it for HR, right? Once you have given the pool name, give the network 192.168.20.0, subnet is 255.255.255.0. Hit enter. You have to give the default gateway. So the default router 192.168.20.1. If you wish to give the DNS, that also you can do it from here itself. Although we have not given in the VLAN 10, but we are learning how to give the DNS also from DHCP. So we can give that. Let's say 8.8.8.8. However, it is not required in our lab for now. Now you have configured this, and as usual, come out of this mode, exit. You are designing the network, and you want that from this 20 network up to 20 from 20.1 to 20.50, you want this IP address to be reserved for your some purpose. You want to use it manually, and then thereafter you want to give the IP address through a DHCP server. So what you can do, simply you will give the command IP DHCP excluded address 192.168.20.1 to 192.168.20.50. You said this IP addresses should be excluded from the pool. So now, since you have said that up to 20.50, it should be excluded. So the first DHCP IP which you will get on your PC will be 51 and another will be 52. Minimize this. Minimize this. Now, let's come to this PC2 over here. Go to desktop. Come to IP configuration. And instead of static, say DHCP. See, requested for IP DHCP request successful, and the first IP which you got is 192.168.20.51. This is a subnet mask which you have configured, default gateway you have configured, DNS server you have configured. Everything is received. Yes, Imran, you're right. You will give as per your requirement. That's totally right. Close it. Now come to this PC3. Come to this PC3 and go to desktop. Come to IP configuration. Select DHCP, requesting IP address, and you got IP address. See, the second IP you got. Close it. Now you have the IP addresses, everything available with you. Correct? Now you have configured everything. You have configured the VLANs, then you have configured this switch ports, everything you have configured. Now just open one PC. Let's say open PC0 and come to command prompt. Very first thing we will configure, we will try to ping our gateway. Ping 192.168.10.1. Hit enter. You are seeing that you are able to get the reply from 192.168.10.1. Try to ping your own PC, another PC in your network, that is 10.20. You are getting a reply from this PC as well. Now try to ping 20.1, which is the gateway of the another network, 192.168.20.1. That's fantastic. You are getting a reply from this as well. Now we will try to ping this IP address, this PC IP address, which is 20.51. The PC in another network, right? 192 ping 192.168.20.51. Hit enter. Are you able to ping this? No. So now we will see why we are not able to ping this. We will learn this. The use case is we are able to ping that gateway, that is 192.168.10.1, which is configured as the VLAN interface IP address. we are able to ping 192.168.20.1, which is a VLAN interface IP address, but we are not able to ping this, meaning that the routing is not working. The traffic is going from here up to here, but it is not forwarded on the switch somewhere over here. So what we have to give is we have to give the command on this switch IP routing and hit enter. Once you give this command, now just come over here on the PC and try to ping. You will be able to ping 192.168.20.51. One second. It's saying not responding from 10.1. Hold on one second. Okay. Sorry, I am using the wrong IP address 192.168.20.51 and hit enter. See, you are able to ping the host in some other network, which is 192.168.20.51. Similarly, try to ping this IP also, this PC IP also. Which one? This one. This 52, right? This IP address. What is IP address of this PC? The IP address of this PC is 192.168.20.52, which we got from DHCP. To ping, the first request will be dropped. We all know that it is the learning app. That's why the app request is sent. In that time, there is a possibility the first packet will be dropped. Then you are able to see the ping, meaning that now try to ping some IP from here. Go to this PC and just ping 192.168.10.10. This PC, the first PC, PC0. You are getting a reply, meaning that just try to ping 192.168.10.20. You should get a reply from here also. See, you are getting a reply. The first packet drop is normal because it's sending the app request and waiting for the response. There is a possibility there might be a packet loss, first packet loss, so that is quite normal. Now just try to from here also, from this PC also, any one of the IP address. Go to command prompt, ping 192.168.10.20. You are able to get a reply, meaning that your complete network is pingable now. The complete network is reachable, and this is nothing but an inter-vlan routing. Is it clear? Anyone has any questions, any doubt in inter-VLAN routing? So this is how your inter-VLAN routing works in the production environment. This is how you configure the VLANs and you make it possible for the VLAN of one VLAN to communicate with the another VLAN. Let's take a break of 5 minutes. Then we will continue and we will be learning some very important topic where we will learn that is it a good idea to keep configuring this VLAN, or is there another alternative way where the VLANs can be configured automatically. This all thing we are going to learn. So let's take a break for 5 minutes. Now just do one thing first. Select it and drag it over here a little bit. Now before we move ahead, let's complete one small thing. Now your complete network is pingable. I told you that in our previous lecture we are converting the switch port to layer 3. We are giving the IP address. Why? Because we can access the switch. But that was not recommended practice. If you have an administrator, you will waste 10 ports, 10 network addresses, you will be wasting 10 IP addresses, you will be wasting, and necessarily you will be wasting so many things. So in production environment, the recommended approach is you use the management VLAN and you give the IP address on the management VLAN. Now, if you will see over here on this layer 3 switch, if you want to sorry, wrong command I have given. Okay, go to privilege mode. If you want to check the IP address of the VLAN interface, so the command is same, show interface. Instead of ethernet 1 by 1 or gigabit ethernet physical port, you will give VLAN show interface VLAN 100. It will give you the It will show you the IP address. The IP address you have configured for VLAN 100 on the switch is 192.168.100.1. In this way also you can check show IP interface brief, and you will check that at the last you will find all these interfaces. VLAN 1, VLAN 10, VLAN 20, VLAN 100, VLAN 10, you will see it's down by default. Now we will be learning this also, why this VLAN 1 is down by default, and shall we make it up, or it should be always down. What is the practical approach? Everything we will learn. Why this VLAN 1 is administrated down. With this we will learn in detail, but not now in our advanced lab lecture. Now you will see that on VLAN 100 on this switch we have given the IP address 192.168.10.1. You can use the same IP address for accessing the switch. Similarly, going over here, so now let's say if you want this switches also to be accessible for the management purpose, you will be configuring the VLAN interfaces on the switches, and you will be configuring the management IP. We'll see how you can do that. So just come to this switch 0, for which we have given the name IT switch. Go to configuration mode, go to interface configuration mode for VLAN 100, interface VLAN 100, hit enter and give the IP address 192.168.100.10, 255.255.255.0, and you can come out from here. Similarly, go to the switch, that is HR switch over here, go to configuration mode and go to interface VLAN 100 over here and give the IP address 192.168.100.20, subnet mask 255.255.255.0, and hit enter. Have we done this configuration? Everyone has done this configuration. Now to configure a telnet properly, some additional configuration is required that we will learn. We will be learning about configuration of the switches for the remote access. But for now, just open one of the PC over here, go to command prompt and try to ping 192.168.100.10 and hit enter. 100.10 where you have configured on this layer 2 switch, right? But before that, just try to configure 100, try to ping 100.1 and hit enter. You are able to get the ping reply, but you are not able to get 100.10, right? So just come over here on the switch, go to switch 0 and give the command show IP interface brief and hit enter. VLAN 100, it shows that it is up and running. Try to ping the same IP locally 192.168.100.10 and hit enter. You are able to ping it, right? Now just give the command show VLAN on this switch. You have this VLAN available. Anyhow, you are not able to ping this 192.168.100.10 from here. This we will troubleshoot, but and why it is not able to ping, we'll troubleshoot, but this time we are going to discuss some other topic and we'll come over here again. Now for now just leave this. We will troubleshoot why you are not able to ping this IP. You can reach 200.1, you're not able to ping 200.10. Everything we'll discuss, don't worry. But the reason behind showing you this configuration was, this is how you will be configuring your switch interfaces, so that you will be able to access this switch for the management purpose. This was the purpose behind showing you this configuration. Now, let's understand a scenario. This is one switch which you have configured. This is another switch which you have configured, right? Now, just take the switch over here a little bit. Now, consider tomorrow you expand your network. Okay, you expand your network. You have added one more switch. Just take this one more switch 2960 over here. You expanded your network. You added one more switch which is 2960, and again you will have the PCs over here. Let's say you have two more PCs connected over here, right? And you are connecting the cables also. You will connect PC, and you will connect one more PC over here also. Now, in total, you have the three switches. In your production environment, you can have hundred of switches, right or wrong? You will have hundred of switches. Now, you have only three VLANs. You can have hundred of VLANs also over here. So what you did, you configured the VLAN over here. You configure the IP addresses, everything you have configured on the core switch, on your layer 3 switch from your complete distribution is going. Then you come to the switch, you configure VLAN 10, VLAN 20, you configure VLAN 10, VLAN 20. Similarly, if you have 100 VLAN, you will configure VLAN 10, VLAN 20, 30, 40, up to 1000 you will go, or VLAN 1, VLAN 2, VLAN 3, VLAN 4 up to VLAN 100. Then the network expands, you put the new switch, again you will configure. Now if let's say for example the new VLANs come, if you have new department or you have a new network you want to configure, and let's say for example that is VLAN 250 for example, then you will go to this switch, you will configure VLAN 250, then you will configure VLAN 250 over here, you will go to this switch, you will configure VLAN 250 over here also, and to 100 of switches you will be configuring VLAN 250. So is it a good practice that you keep configuring the VLAN the same configuration on every switches? Is it a good practice? The answer is no. So there should be some mechanism where you don't have to duplicate this work and you don't have to do this repetitive task again and again. So for this, to address this issue, to this is not an issue, but you can say that to ease this work, to make the work easy, there is something called VTP. There is something important concept called VTP. There's something called VTP. VTP stands for VLAN Trunking Protocol. VLAN Trunking Protocol. So let's discuss what is this. So guys, VLAN Trunking Protocol. It is a Cisco proprietary protocol first of all. And you know what it does? Once you enable VTP, once you configure VTP, this protocol is capable of communicating the VLAN information by Cisco switches. For example, to our scenario, if you configure the VTP over here, there is a special configuration required that we will do the configuration. But if you enable the VTP on the Cisco switches, so whatever configuration you do on one switch, that will be communicated to all the switches in the network. And once you configure the VTP, through the VTP configuration, what you can synchronize, the VLAN name will go. If there are VLAN name, the VLAN name will be passed to all the switches. Then the VLAN ID will be passed. So instead of configuring the VLAN one by one on all the switches, all this information can be passed easily using VTP, that is VLAN Trunking Protocol. Now, to configure VTP, there are something which you have to consider. in your mind. What are those? There's something called VTP domain. Mean that you will say to the switch that you are a member of this domain, and the remaining switches also should be the member of the same domain. It is something like in your Windows server, you configure a domain, and all the pieces to whom you give that domain name becomes a member of that domain. Similarly, over here also, there is something called VTP domain. So VTP domain is something you have to configure, and this is configured where this is configured on the layer 3 switch. Then similarly, VTP domain name you have to configure. Then VTP also has a versions, right? So VTP version you have to consider saying that the version will be same for all the switches, and then you have to configure the VTP password also. How you will configure this, we are going to do it practically now. But remember, the main purpose behind the VTP is to pass on the VLAN configuration across the switches in your network. So there are versions of VTP. When you talk about versions, we have version 1, we have version 2, now latest is version 3 we have. And there is something a very important and powerful concept called VTP modes. Remember, this is very important. VTP modes are very important. So there are three modes. There are three modes in VTP. Number one is server mode. Number two is client mode. Number two is client mode. Number three is transparent mode. Okay, these are three modes in VTP. Let's understand these modes one by one. So always remember, wherever you are configuring the SVIs, wherever you're configuring the SVI, switch virtual interface, wherever you are giving the IP addresses on the VLAN, wherever you're configuring the network, that is your layer 3 switch, core switch, on that switch, which is of course a powerful switch, over there, always you will configure that switch as server mode. And what is server mode? Let's understand. Remember, in VTP server mode, the user, the administrator, can create VLAN. Okay, if the switch is in server mode, you can create VLAN, you can modify VLAN, and even you can delete it. If you have configured the switch, see now, this is your network. Now you want that the VLAN should be automatically propagated across the switches. So what you are going to do is you will say that, okay, you will say that this is my the switch from where all the traffic is distributed. My routing is happening over here. This is a powerful switch. I will be making this switch as the server. So I will be configuring this switch VTP mode as server mode. So on the switch, you will create a VLAN, you can modify it, and you can delete it. So if you create any VLAN, this will be propagated to all the switches automatically. We will verify practically. If you modify any configuration, that will also be reflected on all the switches. And if you delete any VLAN, it will be deleted from all this VLAN. Now, remember, the condition is if this switch is a domain is a member of domain name XYZ, then this switch, all should be the member of the same domain. Then only this will happen. If the domain name is different, your configuration will not work. And always remember that by default, the mode of the switch is server. By default, the switch mode is server. The switches are in the server mode. And to check to check which mode the switch is working, you can simply give this command. Come over here, any of the switch, and say the command show VTP mode. Sorry, show VTP status. Once you give the command show VTP status, you will see that the VTP operating mode is in server mode. come to your layer 3 switch and give the same command, show VTP status when this is in server mode. Now, this was all about the server mode. This is the main mode, and if the switch is configured in server mode, you can create VLAN, you can delete VLAN, you can modify VLAN, and the same information will be propagated. The server, the switch working in the running in the server mode is capable of propagating the information, VLAN name, VLAN ID to other switches. Another mode is client mode, right? Client mode. Remember, over here, VTP clients, VTP clients, the switches which are in client mode, act similar as a VTP server, but can't change, create, or delete VLAN. If the switch is working in client mode, then you cannot modify, delete, or create a VLAN in this mode. If the switch mode is client, the VTP mode is client, you cannot do any modification, and it will say you that it is in client mode and you cannot do any configuration. This also we will verify, don't worry. And when the switch is in client mode, it can accept the changes whatever the server is sending. If the let's say for example, over here in our design you say that this is server mode, this switch is in server mode, and then you say that these switches are in client mode, the BO switches. What will happen, whatever modification are done over here, this switches which are running in client mode will accept those changes. Okay, but this switch itself is not capable of sending any change further. So whatever changes are coming from the server, it will accept it, but on its own it cannot do any changes. The switch is in the client mode, you cannot add, delete, or modify VLAN when the switch is in client mode. Not only that, whatever changes are done over here, it will not even propagate further. Now, the last mode, which is transparent mode. This is something like the mode where the switches doesn't participate in VTP. So if the switch is in transparent mode, a switch is in transparent mode, it will not accept any changes from server. If there is any change coming from the switch which is in server mode, it will not accept any changes. Okay, it will not synchronize to any VLAN configuration from the server. And not only that, they will not even they will not even apply any changes. If there is any change you do on this, it will not go to another one. But remember one thing, remember one important thing over here. Now you might be thinking, let's say for example, this is one switch. Okay, now you have, for example, one more switch. Let's take one more switch over here and this is very important thing. Just try to understand this. Now let's say for example, this is a network design. You have four switches in the network, and the fourth switch which you are seeing over here, it is something not directly connected to this, but connected via this switch. Okay, now you say that this is server mode, this switch is client mode, then this switch you say as a client mode, the third switch you say as a transparent mode, again you say this as a client mode. Now the question comes, this switch doesn't accept any synchronization, doesn't accept any changes. This switch doesn't accept any changes. Will this switch which is in client, which is running in client mode, will be able to, this switch which is running in client mode will be able to accept the changes which this has sent? The answer is yes, because although this switch is in transparent mode, but this switch, even in transparent mode, will be passing the announcement which has received. If it has received some announcement from the switch which is in server mode, it will be passing this information to this switch, and this switch can learn the acknowledgement, it can learn the changes whatever the server mode switch has sent it. Is it clear? Now, let's say for example, if you have turn off the VTP over here, if the VTP itself is turn off, then in that case, whatever announcement, whatever changes the server mode is sending to this switch will not be forwarded. If the VTP itself is not working, then the VTP announcement will not be forwarded. But if even though it is in transparent mode, the changes which are being sent will be coming to this switch also over here. Is it clear? Any questions, any doubt? Imran, your question will be answered. When we will do the practical, your question will be answered. Don't worry. Now, let's start doing the configuration of this switches. So everyone is ready? Everyone is ready to start with the configuration? Before we go ahead, let's relate it. We will be doing the practical that time we will add. For now, just relate this. Relate this. Now, now, before we move ahead with the configuration, remember there is something which you have to take care when you are configuring the VTP. That is VTP domain name should be same. VTP domain name should be same on the switches. VTP version should be same. VTP password should be same. Switch must be configured. Switch must be configured as VTP client or VTP server. And finally, link between switches. Link between switches must be trunk. The information will not pass if the switches are connected on the access port. So it must be trunk port. The connectivity between the two switches must be trunk. Is it clear? Now, let's go ahead and start with the configuration. Before that, let me show you what is version. Go to this switch, this layer 3 switch. Over here, you have given the command show VTP status. It says that it is in server mode, right? And remember one thing, we have not configured anything. We have not configured any VLAN, anything over here. Let me show you. Let me open this switch. I will come to CLI. I will go to the privilege mode and I will give the command show VLAN. You will see that the default VLAN, that is VLAN 1 is there, but there is no other VLAN. We don't have VLAN 10, VLAN 20, VLAN 100. Now our idea is whatever VLAN we have over here on this switch should be propagated to this switch, correct? Let's start with the configuration. To achieve this, we are going to configure VTP. I will go to your layer 3 switch over here and I will go to configuration mode. Everyone is there with me? Please confirm in the chat box. Everyone is there with me? So everyone is there with me. We can start with the configuration. The very first thing what you will do is you will be giving the domain name. See over here, whatever I have written, domain name should be same, version should be same, password should be same. So over here you will see VTP version capable is 1 and 2. Means if this switch supports 1 and 2 and the version which is running is 1. So ensure that every switch has the same version running. If you go over to another switch where we have checked sometime before, over here also it shows that VTP version Suppose version 1 and version 2, and the current version running is version 1. Now just give the command VTP domain, and I will say that node network dot labs. Enter. See, currently there was no domain name. It is saying that changing the VTP domain name from null to the name which you have given. Now once you have given the name, then what you will do is you will be giving the password VTP password, say admin 123, hit enter. It is setting the device VLAN database password. Now you have to say VTP mode. We know that it is server, but let's follow the standard configuration practice. VTP mode server and hit enter. It says that device mode already VTP server, so it is not changing. It is already in the server mode. What we did, we have given the domain name, we have given the password, we have set the switch to server mode. The link is already trunk, and one more thing, how to change the VTP version. VTP version, set to and hit enter. Remember, the same VTP version should be configured for all. And one more important thing is the port should be in the trunk mode, right? Have we configured this port as trunk? Have we configured this port as trunk? No. So the third switch, the port to which the third switch is connected, right? So what you will do, you will be configuring the third interface. Let's see what is the interface. Show IP interface brief. And yes, the third port is up, means that third port is connected to the third switch. So you will say interface GI1 by 0 by 3, 1 by 0 by 3, and you will say switch port mode trunk. Okay. Similarly, if you come over here on this switch, just configure the trunk port, nothing else. Just configure the trunk port. Okay. Show IP interface brief and show IP interface brief, and the first port must be a port which is connected over here. Just check the cursor over here. Yeah, it's the first port. So this is your switch 2, right? Over here, go to configuration mode, go to interface FA 0 by 1 and say switch port mode trunk. And one more thing, give the host name also. Host name as, let's say, now we will say admin switch, and hit enter. Now once you have configured the VTP configuration, what you did, you have given VTP domain name no networks.lab, you have set the password, you have said that the VTP mode must be server and VTP version should be 2. The same configuration you have to do it on all the switches, making it client now. So come to this switch over here, okay, and start doing the configuration. Everyone is there with me? Please confirm in the chat box. That's good. Now on this switch, the first switch over here, switch 0, go to configuration mode and say that VTP domain, ensure that everything is same. I will just put this over here so that we don't do any mistake, and all the configuration is committed perfectly. VTP domain, and you will say that it is Noor networks dot labs. Hit enter. You will give VTP password as admin123 and hit enter. Now see, it is saying that unable to perform trunk negotiation on port because VTP domain mismatch. Why it is giving? Because we have not configured all the thing. That's why it started to say that. So now you have given the password VTP. Password is admin123. Correct? And it will give you keep on giving you. See over here also. And one more thing, we have said node network.labs, right? And over here we have used node networks.labs as we have used. So that's the reason it is giving you. See, domain mismatch, unable to perform trunk negotiation. Why domain mismatch is there? So you have to change that and you will say that node network.labs. So you have learned that the name should be same. If the name is not same, it started to give trunk negotiation failed. Why? Because the domain name mismatch. Now the domain name is same, and it has said that the changing the VTP domain name from no networks.labs to no network.labs. Now that error will not come. Even on this switch also you will see there was a message coming. Unable to perform trunk negotiation because domain mismatch. Why? Because we have used the incorrect domain name. There was a mistake in typing. We have set the password also for the VTP. Another thing we will say that VTP version, hit enter. And finally, VTP mode, we will say client and hit enter. It has set the VTP client, the device to VTP client mode. We have done this configuration on the first switch. Now, just come to another switch. Just come to another switch. This is switch 1. Come over here and go to configuration mode, and same configuration you will be doing over here also. VTP domain noor network dot labs. Domain name set to noor network dot labs. Now VTP password admin123. VTP. Now see, one thing you will realize, it says that domain name already set to no network.labs. You can see this. Why it has given? It has not given you a name change, but it is saying that already set to this. Why? Because this was already in server mode. That's why. Now we have set the password. VTP version will be 2, and finally VTP mode will be client. Now, going to the third switch over here, go to configuration mode over here on this switch. Say that VTP mode is client. Hit enter. Now say VTP domain is noor network.labs. Domain already set. Okay, noor network.labs. VTP password admin123. VTP version is 2. Everyone has done this? Has everyone done this configuration? Please confirm in the chat box. It is saying that VTP version cannot be modified in client mode. So actually we need to configure the client mode first, but over here I put by mistake client mode. Just for some time, say that VTP mode transparent. Okay, just put in transparent mode. In the production also, if you want to do any changes, put it in transparent mode. And now say that VTP version should be 2. Okay, it is saying already in 2. Now again put it in client mode, VTP mode client, and exit from here. Now remember, this is the third switch which you have. This is the third switch, right? Have you configured any VLAN before? Answer is no. Just check if the VLAN is propagated. Show VLAN. And you will see that although you have not configured any VLAN on this switch, but as soon as you have configured the VTP, you have done the VTP configuration, the server has propagated all the VLANs to this client. Now you will see that this switch which we have configured, sorry, which we have just connected, we have not configured any VLAN, but you will see that we 10, 20, 100, all these VLANs are automatically propagated using VLAN trunking protocol. So that's the benefit. Now if you have 100 of VLANs and 1,000 of switches configured, you don't have to configure the VLANs going to switch one by one manually, but it can be propagated automatically. Now let's say tomorrow you come up with the requirement that you need VLAN 30 for the admin network. This is admin network, right? So you need this pieces to be in VLAN 30 and you require a VLAN 30. So instead of going to one by one on all the switches and configuring, simply what you will do is you will be going to your core switch, where the switch which is in server mode, the switch which is in server mode. Okay, you will go to the switch in the server mode. You will go to configuration mode. Simply you will say VLAN 30, name is admin VLAN. Okay, the name is admin. And moving ahead, we will configure the IP address also. Although this IP address is not propagated, because IP address will propagate, then the config will be there. Only this information will be propagated. VLAN 30, name is admin. This will be propagated. Interface VLAN 30. Why I am configuring the IP address? For our further lab which we are going to do tomorrow. 192.168.30.1, subnet is 55 to 55 or 255.0. Enter. Now just go to any of the switch. Go to switch 0, which is this switch, this switch, and just check show VLAN. See, 30 we have not configured on any VLAN. It has automatically came, and even the name is propagated. See, even the name is propagated, admin. Correct. Now not only that, if you go to this switch 1, this switch 1, if you go over here on switch 1 and you say show VLAN, you will see that 30 is propagated over here also. If you go over here and say show VLAN, 30 VLAN is propagated over here also. So that's how the VLAN trunking protocol makes your life easy, makes the administrator life easy, that you configure the VLAN on one of the switch which is in server mode, and it propagates the VLAN information to all the switches which are in client mode. Before we conclude for today's lecture, let's go to one of the switch and try to configure VLAN, create a VLAN. What we have learned, that we have learned that in server mode, VTP server mode, VTP can be, the VLAN can be created in server mode. The VLAN can be created, VLAN can be modified, VLAN can be deleted when the switch is in server mode. We have learned this, right? Now where it went, just actually my whiteboard also got disconnected due to internet connection. That might be the reason. Anyway, we have learned that in server mode, the VLANs can be created, modified, or deleted. And we have practically justified by creating one VLAN, and we have seen that it is propagated to other switches. Let's take access for one of the switches. Let's say switch 0, and try to create one VLAN over here. Go to configuration mode and say VLAN 50. Enter. What it says? VTP VLAN configuration not allowed when device is in client mode. This justifies that when the switch is in client mode, you cannot create VLAN, nor you can delete or modify any VLAN. And if the switch is in transparent mode, you can create VLAN, you can delete VLAN, but the switch will not accept any incoming connection. This we are going to see tomorrow, and we are going to see the behavior of the switch when it is in transparent mode. that we are going to practically justify. And one thing which we left today is we have configured the IP address, but we were not able to do any telnet. We are not able to reach. That is something again interesting topic which we are going to discuss in the coming lecture. So that's all for today. If you have any questions, any doubt, please let me know. Or else tomorrow when we will start, we will be starting ahead with the same VTP configuration where we will see the behavior of the switch in the transparent mode, and we will see that if the switch is in transparent mode, how it passes the traffic to the another switch which is in client mode. This is what we are going to discuss, and then we will be going ahead and discussing about some services in tomorrow's lecture, and we will be starting with the design concepts, how you will be designing it. So if there is any questions, any doubt, please let me know, or else it's the right time to take a break.